We're good.
What's up, everybody? It's Jason and Frank. I'm back with you, Stadium, and we are joined by the Athletics, Dane Brugler, draft expert. So, Dane, let's get right into it. One player, we were speaking a little bit off air about wide receivers, but
Right.
I want to ask you about tight end. Brock Bowers, obviously a dynamic playmaker. Do you think he goes top 10? And
with a true comparison that you love, right? Because he's a hybrid player. That him in the draft is because he's a top 10 player in this draft. It would actually be drafted top 10 is a different thing. And so he's not gonna be for everybody. Not everyone's comfortable taking a tight end that early. And you have to be 100% sure you know exactly how to use him and that versatility. The versatility is a key part of what makes him special. In line, out wide, slot, in the backfield, as a blocker, as a pass catcher. So it's going to be a fast. He's the wild card in the first round.
Yeah.
He could fall 15, maybe the Colts.
Colts would be a nice fit.
It'd be perfect fit. And you think about what they want to do with Anthony Richardson, get more talent around him.
Yeah.
The Bengals could be falling their lap 18. I mean, that kind of solves because they want to get better at tight end and then they want to get better slot receiver. Kind of answers both those problems. But yeah, Brock Bowers is going to be the true wild card just because it's not a talent issue. It's a matter of who's willing to invest a high pick in him, and and everyone's going to feel comfortable doing that.
Dane, let's jump right into the offensive tackles in this class. We have Joe Alt,
Yep.
Olu Fashanu, J.C. Latham,
Mhm.
sort of lingering in that potential
Fuaga.
top 10 range, Talis Fuaga. How do you rank them? And do you think that we're going to have 3 potential offensive tackles going in the top 10, which I've been hearing? Because J.C. Latham's getting a lot of buzz going in the top 10. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think, in my opinion, Joe Alt is the top tackle this year. Just the most
Clear.
Yeah, the most well-rounded of the group. Because he didn't grow up an offensive lineman. He grew up playing quarterback, tight end. Not until his senior year in high school did he really start to see more reps on tackle. And then he goes to Notre Dame, and obviously the year-over-year improvement he showed the last 3 years has been fantastic. So just that right alone, the traits, the improvements that he has made, the fact that he's not even close to his ceiling, he's going to get better and better. And he's the most well-rounded of this group, both run blocking, pass protection. So yeah, Joe Walsh to me is the top guy. And then it's funny because there's no consensus for that. It depends on who you talk to.
Interesting. After Joe Alt, you think there's no consensus? as the
I,
next guy?
I'm even hesitant to put Joe Alt because I don't think he's the true consensus. I think
Interesting.
most have Alt one, and then from team to team, it's different. Who's your second tackle, third tackle? Everyone has a different order. Some of it's Fashanu. Some of it depends on what you want. Fashanu is, in terms of pass protection, he'd be the next best guy. But if you're looking for more run blocker, if you're looking for J.C. Latham, he's the strongest player in the draft.
I agree.
So, and then you have to factor in, Latham's been a right tackle. Fashanu is a left tackle. You feel like they can make that easy transition to play either spot. I'm a big fan of Marius Mims from Georgia. He is the most physically gifted of this group, but he just has 8 stars to his name, and so the body of work isn't there. But when you're that physically gifted, where do you feel comfortable drafting him? So Marius Mims could be the second tackle drafted, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Let me ask you one other question. Let me just do a quick follow up. Do you think these tackles this year, let's say like the top 2 or 3 tackles in this class, do you compare them? How do you compare them, with other tackle classes?
The obvious ones a couple years ago when we had Andrew Thomas go, and then Jedrick Wills, Mekhi Becton, and Tristan Wirfs. Wirfs was the 4th drafted of the group, and
Yeah,
you can
sure,
argue
right.
he's the best. And I think that speaks to how there's no consensus. Everyone looks at guys a little differently. What they offer is different, and how they fit in scheme will be different. And this year's a great example. We didn't talk about Fuaga. We didn't talk about Washington left tackle Fontenot. I mean, there's a lot of Guyton from Oklahoma. There's a lot of really talented tackles. Very top-heavy class, and I can't wait to see how it all shakes out. Do all 7 go in the top 20? Do we see a guy fall? It's going to be interesting.
So as a prospect, Marvin Harrison Jr. is getting hype that we haven't really seen in a long time. Not since Jamar Chase. I'd say Harrison's hype is more than Chase.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Harrison and Malik Neighbors. A lot of people have Harrison as the consensus one.
Mhm.
Is the gap between the two closer than we think, or is it clear cut? Harrison's the guy. Neighbors is the.
I think it's razor thin. I don't see a big gap. And look, I don't even throw a Dunze in there.
Yeah.
I think there's a big gap. In most years, Roma Dunze is the easy wide receiver one.
Exactly.
Roma Dunze is the wide receiver one for some teams here. Like that's fact.
Oh.
And so, how do the Cardinals feel? How do the
Yeah.
Chargers feel? How do the Giants feel? That'll be interesting. There's a good chance we see quarterback, 1, 2, 3, and then receiver, 4, 5, 6. There's a very, very good chance that's what happens. Maybe not to those teams. Maybe we see some trade action in there, but this is a wide receiver class that's deep, but it's also very top heavy. Marvin Harrison Jr. My favorite thing about him is this is what you saw with Larry Fitzgerald. This is why that's my comp. Is his ability to slow down the football with his eyes at the catch point. It's just so unique. He's big, but he also has outstanding athleticism. He's also very skilled as a route runner. But Malik Neighbors, man, he's 20. He led the SEC in receiving the last 2 years. He has special acceleration, and he's still just figuring out how good he can be. And I'd even throw Brian Thomas in that. I think he's not far off from that top group. He's another guy that has no idea how good he can be. We're going to see all 4 of these guys go somewhere in the top 15 picks.
Quick question. So, with the quarterback specifically, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, how do you rank them? Scouting them, as we know, Dane is one of the best draft scouts in the game. Shout outs to my guy, best in the game. Got to show him some love. How do you rank Jaden Daniels? Let's do this. I like the 1 to 100 scale. How do you rank them as a prospect on a 1 to 100 scale? Jaden Daniels and Drake May.
I mean, I do think Daniels is the third of the group for me. He deserves so much credit for the improvements he made the last 2 years at LSU, especially what he did this past year. I mean, he had 90 plays of 20 plus yards. 90. I can't check it, but I think that's a record.
Yeah,
I don't think we've never seen a quarterback make that many.
90. Wow.
And he's some of the processing stuff he's still working on. My biggest concern with Daniels is when he feels pressure, he's more likely to tuck and run than he is to find that second chance throw.
Interesting.
And in the NFL, you're going to see pressure. That's part of it. And part of his legs, that's part of what makes him special. You just have to account for what he can do with his mobility, but at the same time, you want him sitting back, throwing the football. He doesn't have the body type you want, taking all those hits. So there's some stuff with Daniels that worries me, but again, if you need a quarterback in the top 10, you're still going to take him because he's going to inject life into your offense and he can create. So, with his legs and then also with his arm. So give him a lot of credit for what he's done. But I'm going to bet on Caleb Williams. I'm going to bet on Drake May if I have a choice between those 3 quarterbacks.
Well, Dane, listen, I know you're a busy man. Thank you for the time.
Of course.
Appreciate the interview. Make sure you check Dane's work out with the Athletic. Business. We appreciate the time.
Dane, one last question. So let's get a hot take.
Yeah.
NFL draft hot take. What do you have? And then also one sleeper. I need a hot take and a sleeper. What do you have?
Sleeper, my Yale left tackle, Karan Adewje. I mispronounce his name all the time. He's a guy that won't work out here because he's hurt, but he's like 3 years from now we'll be talking about how the heck did he fall so far. So watch for the Yale left tackle. Hot take. I think quarterback, receiver. Those are top 6 picks. I think right there.
Wow.
It's just a matter of who's going to be picking in those spots. But I think I think the chance we see Patriots trade out of there, the chance we see Chargers trade out of there. If the top 6 players drafted will be those the 3 quarterbacks, 3 receivers.
Got it. And I also have a sleeper for you, and I want to get your opinion on this. So Ray Davis.
Yeah, best story in the draft.
Right? I feel like, and it's funny because I was speaking with the Miami Dolphins scout yesterday, and I'm like, you know what? I'm a Jets fan. I probably shouldn't be telling the Miami Dolphins scouts inside that they give a crap to say. But what do you think of Ray Davis?
He's awesome. I mean, his Florida tape might be the best running back tape of any running back in this class. He was awesome in that game. Over 1,000 yards rushing at 3 different schools, and like I said, his backstory is the best in this draft. So what he's overcome is outstanding, and I think he's 4th round probably. He's going to get a really good
Dane, thanks again. We're going to make that a stadium app. QB, receiver.
The chat is asking who is the sleeper again because they can get that.
The Yale left tackle.
Yale left tackle.
Yeah, Karan Amadeji.
I don't know who that is. That's why he's a sleeper.
I'll take your word for it. Dane, thanks again, man. It was a pleasure.
Anything, guys. Thanks.
Appreciate you, brother.
2 minutes past.